You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey, Y&R fans. Well, Summer Newman may need to check herself before she wrecks herself in the worst way with Kyle Abbott. Is he going to shut down her custody plans for Harrison with an even bolder move of his own on the CBS soap? It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and I want to talk about what Kyle may do if he decides to take the nuclear option to stop Summer from trying to take his son Harrison Abbott away from him. We talked about this recently on another video here, but there has been zero indication on Young and the Restless that Summer Newman adopted Harrison Locke Abbott. Now, Summer did mention there was a custody agreement in place, but I addressed that in my other video. You can check it out in the Y&R playlist or just scroll down on the main page. But that doesn't mean she had really any tangible parental rights before the divorce. Instead, according to my research, when a step-parent has been acting in a parental capacity and then they wind up getting a divorce from the biological parent, the court can allow them visitation and some custodial rights, even though they don't have any biological rights. In this case, Kyle did want Summer to stay involved in Harrison's life, and so he had them include visitation in their divorce agreement. Of course, never planning that he and Summer would go to war like this. He didn't think she would ever pull something like this. But let's be real. Harrison Abbott has a biological mother whose rights have never been terminated, at least as far as Y&R has ever told us. His mom is Tara Locke. She is likely still in prison for financial crimes, but she didn't get a life sentence, a few years. Several years. And in New York, where she was sentenced, and in Wisconsin, where her son Harrison lives, Tara being sent to prison doesn't mean she loses parental rights automatically. It's pretty hard to take somebody's parental rights. And short of them telling us specifically on Young and the Restless that Tara signed away her rights, we have to assume she still has them. But on a recent Y&R episode, it became quite clear Summer Newman, as far as I can see, is out of control with this custody stuff. You'll see it this week, towards the end of the week. Her brother Daniel criticized her when she said she was just trying to protect Harrison by getting this emergency custody order. And Daniel asked, "You're protecting Harrison from a trip to Paris?" Given that Summer doesn't seem to have a big problem with Claire anymore, not really, what Summer is trying to do in court is pretty aggressive. Phyllis has Summer all pumped up with paranoia because Kyle's job day to day is working with Audra Charles again. But that should have no bearing on his custody of his own biological child, a child that is not hers biologically, nor a child she ever adopted. There's really not one shred of anything that Kyle has done wrong that Summer could bring to court, so it doesn't make any sense the judge gave her an emergency protective order for Harrison unless there is some tomfoolery and chicanery afoot. Remember, the original judge that was assigned their custody case wouldn't grant the motion. So Summer's lawyer did this sneaky end run move to go to another judge. It's all kind of sketchy because they're clearly trying to circumvent proper channels. Summer is turning into a mini Phyllis while at the same time channeling the very worst aspects of the Newmans as well. What kind of took me off guard was Summer spelling it out for Daniel on this recent episode, saying she is suing for sole custody of Harrison Abbott. Think about that word, sole custody. She wants to be Harrison's only legal parent. This whole thing started because she was upset that Kyle was planning to move out of the mansion and get him and Harrison their own place, as he is entitled to do, as a good parent would do, providing a nice home for their child. But even so, as of now, Kyle still lives in the mansion with Harrison there, with his grandparents, so he hasn't even packed a bag as far as we've seen. But Summer thinks he should be stripped of primary custody of his own child. Unless Young and the Restless is trying to make this into a message, a social message about dads being treated unfairly in family court when it comes to custody, I don't understand what Josh Griffith is trying to do with this Kyle and Summer and Harrison plot other than make a lot of fans really hate Summer. Here's what I do know and how I feel. I would like to see Kyle Abbott write Summer a huge reality check, and he could do that in a ferocious way. Picture this. Kyle Abbott gets remarried, and then he goes to Tara Locke, still in prison, and tells her, you need to sign your parental rights away so my new wife can adopt Harrison. And of course, Tara would say, why would I do that? And Kyle can say, Tara, if you don't do this, neither of us will have custody of our son Harrison because Summer is playing dirty and is trying to steal our son away from us. That might actually convince Tara to sign over her rights as long as Kyle would agree to let her see Harrison, once she's out of jail. But I could see Tara doing that so that Harrison still has a biological parent in his corner and that Summer, who Tara does not like at all, doesn't wind up with her son, especially not with her son as his sole custodial parent. It's crazy. At this point, I feel like Summer has completely betrayed Kyle's trust in her when he endowed her with those visitation and custody rights as part of the divorce. He had no idea she was going to turn on him. And I can't think of another way to phrase it, but she's trying to steal his son. At this point, with Summer ignoring everybody in her life that's telling her, slow your roll, look at the big picture, be cautious. Kyle hasn't done anything wrong. You're going to wind up hurting nobody but Harrison. She just won't stop. So if Kyle has to do something drastic, I think he will, and I think he should. And if that means that he marries somebody strictly so they can adopt Harrison and shut down Summer, I could totally see him doing it. Now, again, I actually don't think Summer should be cut out of Harrison's life, but I think she needs a big scare put in her because she is absolutely abusing the privileges she's been given. Another question to consider, who would marry Kyle to help him with this custody issue? Audra Charles has shown zero interest in Harrison, and she never spent time with the kid because she and Kyle weren't dating. They were pretty much just, a booty call that had sleepovers. My guess is that if he was looking for a bride, Claire Newman might be his choice. Although Kyle has gotten pushback from Claire in the past when she felt like she was being put between Summer and Kyle because she didn't want to aggravate the situation, I also think Claire will not approve of her cousin Summer trying to steal Harrison from his father. So maybe Claire would agree to help, but I'm also sure it would be no hardship for Kyle to find some woman, any woman, willing to marry him and adopt his kid since he's rich, he's handsome, he's fit, and he's the CEO of a company. But I think his top choice would probably be Claire. What do you think? Is Kyle going to have to do something really harsh and drastic to stop Summer from stealing his son? I mean, it can't be in Harrison's best interest to be taken away from his biological father, right? He was already ripped away from one dad because if you remember, for many years, he thought Ashland Locke was his dad, and then that dad was taken from him. Now it could be just psychologically traumatic and catastrophic to take his bio dad Kyle from him. And that's what Summer is doing because she's only thinking about herself. To say that she's thinking about Harrison is a far cry from the truth. Drop your comments. Let me know what you think. Please subscribe if you're not following us already. Definitely come back soon. This is Belinda with Soap Dirt talking Y&R 7 days a week.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.